You are human after all.
Actually, old man, my mom says I'm a Star-Lord.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and these are all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in Season 2, Episode 2 of What If. And thanks AG1 for partnering with us on this video. So this episode opens with the familiar voice, Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter, now serving as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. like we saw in the opening scene of the first Ant-Man movie, which took place in 1989, whereas this episode is taking place just a year prior in 1988. So we see a ship crash land on the Grand Central Station Bridge in the exact same spot we saw the Avengers fighting the Chitauri during the Battle of New York. In this alternate universe, a young Peter Quill was abducted by Yondu, just like in the mainline MCU. But in this universe, Yondu does not adopt Peter. Instead, he completes his mission and delivers him to his father, Ego, the Living Planet, who we met in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Of course I have issues! That's my freaking father!
Now, if you need a refresher, Ego, the Living Planet is, well, a giant planet with a face on it. He's one of the universe's Celestials, like the giant beings that we saw in the Eternals. In the mainline MCU, Ego fathered children all throughout the galaxy, trying to produce a powerful heir to help him conquer the cosmos. In this reality, though, Peter was deceived by his celestial father and turned into the weapon that Ego wanted him to be.
And with his son now at his side, he had all the power he needed.
Now, young Peter has these same glowing eyes that we saw Star-Lord have while under Ego's influence in Guardians 2. And Peter is wearing the same outfit that we can see him wearing here in the opening scene of the first Guardians film. The same clothes he was wearing when he was abducted by Yondu. Now, when Peter meets his father, Ego takes away and destroys Peter's Walkman containing all of his favorite music. This Walkman and its collection of songs is what kept Peter in touch with his humanity in the mainline MCU. Peter's connection to his music helped him remember where he came from.
You shouldn't have killed my mom and squished my Walkman.
So, when Ego took Peter's Walkman, he severed Peter's connection to his mother, humanity, and Earth, making it easier for him to manipulate Peter and transform him into a living weapon.
Hey person, when did you learn karate?
I don't know karate.
Oh, then is it secret karate?
Doug, what are you talking about?
You're wearing that headband, so I figured you knew secret karate or something.
Oh no, I'm gonna work out after the video. That's why I'm drinking my daily dietary supplement, AG1. They're the sponsor of this video. So I've been drinking AG1 for about a year, and it's become a very important part of my daily routine.
Oh, say more.
Well, Doug, this is what we call a foundational nutrition drink. It is the best way to make sure that you get all the vitamins and minerals that your entire body needs throughout the entire day. It has 75 different ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. That's why this is the best nutritional drink I have ever used for workout recovery. I recover faster, and the high magnesium cuts down on muscle soreness. If you've ever taken a long break from working out, you're just now starting back, then trust me, this drink is great for you. I know that because I take a lot of breaks in between working out. So, you know, with the holidays right now, like everything's super crazy. I've been busy shopping, visiting people, putting up lights, and AG1 is a way for me to make sure that I don't get run down and I have plenty of energy. But this energy is not like a caffeine rush. AG1 contains rhodiola, magnesium, and vitamin B to create sustained energy throughout the entire day, which means I get more done, I'm not working late, and I just feel better. And it's also very easy to use. You have 1 scoop inside 8 ounces of water, you add this immune-supporting vitamin D3 plus K2, and then shake and you're done. Now, because this is so easy, it becomes an essential part of your daily routine. No messy blenders, just powder, water, shake, and you're on your way to a healthier day.
I am amazed at how easy that is.
Thanks, Doug, and the science also backs this up. AG1's approach has even been published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. So, if you sign up with the link in the description, you get a free 1-year supply of the immune-supporting D3 plus K2, plus 5 travel packs with your first purchase. Just click the link in the description to get started with your first purchase of AG1. Now, back to what I was saying. Now, here we see text that reads, Project Pegasus, S.H.I.E.L.D. Western Division Headquarters. Now, Project Pegasus was a 1980s collaboration between S.H.I.E.L.D., NASA, and the Air Force to study the Tesseract, aka the blue cube harnessing the Infinity Stone, the space stone that we saw in the Avengers. At this headquarters, we not only catch up with Peggy Carter, but also Tony Stark's father, Howard, as well.
And I thought my kid was a pain in the ass.
When Howard says,
All that We Are the World garbage doesn't really play outside of MTV.
This is in reference to the popular collaborative song We Are the World, which featured a team-up of performers like Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Kenny Rogers, Paul Simon, Willie Nelson, and many, many more, including Dan Aykroyd for some reason. This song won a lot of MTV Music Awards, and this reference to a big team-up of musicians was a great nod to the big team-up of heroes that we're going to be seeing later in this episode. So our first hero up is Hank Pym, aka Original Ant-Man. Here we can see him and a young Hope Van Dyne, who of course later becomes the Wasp. Now this is taking place roughly a year after Janet, as the original Wasp, sacrificed herself to stop a missile in 1987. We even hear Hank make mention of his beef with S.H.I.E.L.D. after what happened with Janet here.
I don't have anyone to leave her with, thanks to this place.
And speaking of beef, we've known ever since Ant-Man 1 that Hank Pym has had beef with the Starks.
I spent half my life trying to keep this technology out of the hands of a Stark. I'm sure as hell not gonna hand deliver it to one now.
And we get a glimpse of that seemingly one-sided beef between the two here.
You know, for a genius, Stark, you're pretty slow on the take.
Next we meet a young Bill Foster, aka Goliath, who we first met in Ant-Man and the Wasp, played by Lawrence Fishburne.
I'm not Lawrence Fishburne!
Foster was also a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a former colleague of Hank and Janet. Next up is King T'Chaka, father of T'Challa, aka the Black Panther. Now during this time, T'Chaka was serving as both King of Wakanda and as the Black Panther. And he's wearing the same uniform we saw him in flashbacks in the first Black Panther film. When Howard Stark greets King T'Chaka, we hear him mention how his father was a big help in winning the war, referring to World War II. And T'Chaka mentions his father having donated vibranium, the same vibranium that was used to build Captain America's shield.
The most versatile substance on the planet. And they used it to make a frisbee.
We then get this fun nod to the shield being at the bottom of the Arctic.
Lost it in the Arctic, but other than that, things turned out pretty well.
A reference to Steve Rogers' current whereabouts following his sacrifice in the first Avenger. And then came another relic from the war, the Winter Soldier. King T'Chaka mentions that the Winter Soldier was sent by Gorbachev, the leader of the Soviet Union at that time. This is reminding us of who had control of Bucky during his time as the Winter Soldier. And I love getting to see Peggy recognize Bucky and getting to hear them talk about the rumors of his survival.
I'd heard the rumors, but even if they're true, the man we knew is long gone, Peg.
And here we get to see Hank wearing his OG Ant-Man suit, the same suit we see Scott Lang wear in the first Ant-Man movie. Next came Wendy Lawson, a character we first met in Captain Marvel. Now Wendy's real name is Mar-Vell, and she worked on Project Pegasus specifically trying to achieve light speed travel. Here we can see Wendy in a green Star Force uniform, just like Captain Marvel's in her first movie.
It's not. It's Kree Star Force.
So I love this line, calling out T'Chaka for pretending his kingdom of Wakanda is a third world country.
You would think the leader of a technological superpower that masquerades as a third world country would appreciate that.
Roasted!
Now this shows us that S.H.I.E.L.D. knew there was more than meets the eye to Wakanda decades ago. So while it was a shock to the world when Wakanda revealed itself at the UN, it was not a shock to those in the know. This would also explain why Wakanda appeared on a map that Nick Fury had at the end of Iron Man 2. The line here about not wanting the cube in that jet to blow up was of course in reference to the Tesseract.
Pull back, killer. If the cube in that jet blows, there won't be a planet left to save.
And then comes Thor, but this was a very different Thor from what I was expecting. Last season of What If gave us a young Thor who was raised as an only child and was very immature. Now, while we can assume that this Thor had a Loki, he still came off very mature for a 1988 Thor. I mean, I understand that Thor would be an adult in 1988 because he's thousands of years old, but even in the first Thor movie, we saw him behave immaturely. This Thor, however, looked, sounded, and acted more like the Thor from Thor: The Dark World.
I know you seek vengeance as much as I do. You helped me escape Asgard, and I will grant it to you. Vengeance.
But I think I know why they made the decision to make him appear more like that Thor. In the Dark World, we see Thor reeling from the death of his mother. Well, this Thor is probably reeling from the death of his mother and maybe even his brother and father as well.
Dad, they're all dead.
He said that Peter Quill ravaged Jotunheim and Asgard, so it's likely this version of Thor was forced to grow up very quickly and become a darker, more mature version of himself following those tragedies. But you can't have Thor without a little bit of comedy, so we had to have Peter Quill mistake him for the guy from Van Halen.
I thought you were the dude from Van Halen.
A reference to David Lee Roth, and a reference to the music-loving Peter Quill that still exists deep inside of him. Thor secured the celestial seed from the state of Missouri, which is also where Peter is from.
I'm from Earth, I'm from Missouri. Yeah, that's on Earth, dipshit.
In Guardians 2, we learned that Ego had planted his seed, which is gross when you say it like that, on planets throughout the universe. We get a call back to Avengers Infinity War when Howard Stark asks if they can just chuck the seedling into a garbage disposal. Exactly what Tony Stark said to Doctor Strange about chucking the Time Stone into a garbage disposal in that movie.
So why don't we just shove this thing down the garbage disposal? Problem solved.
If Thanos needs all 6, why don't we just stick this one down the garbage disposal?
Peter is now being held in the same glass cage we see Loki held in the first Avengers movie, meaning that this cage maybe wasn't specifically built for the Hulk after all, despite what Loki and Fury implied in the Avengers.
It's an impressive cage. Not built, I think, for me.
Built for something a lot stronger than you.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, Ego attempted to sever Peter's connection to his humanity by taking away his music. And here, it was Hope sharing with Peter her Walkman that brings Peter back to his humanity. I also thought it was sweet to see these two kids who both lost their mothers bonding over the music and the Walkmans that they both left behind.
That her Walkman? It's just You're holding onto it pretty tight.
We get this funny line from Howard here about absentee fathers.
Yeah, great. Blame the absentee father. I get that enough from my own son.
A reference to the patchy relationship that Tony and Howard had, and that we actually got a glimpse at in Civil War. Now, when all these tanks lined up in the desert to meet the big bad alien visitor, I got real Man of Steel vibes, both for when the military met Superman and then General Zod and his comrades. It also reminded me of previous What If episodes, like when Loki came down to Earth with an Asgardian army to avenge the death of Thor, and when Infinity Ultron showed up at the end of What If Thor was an only child episode. Now, during the hero's battle with Ego, we hear Thor say,
"Not so long as there is breath in my body."
A callback to this scene from Avengers Age of Ultron.
And as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
I loved seeing Ego's minions attack Goliath like a swarm of ants. Now, there's some irony there that I appreciated, since Foster and Pym work together on their growing and shrinking technologies. When Howard is talking down Bucky from shooting Peter while at his mother's tombstone, we hear Bucky say,
There is no me.
a reminder that Bucky is under severe mind control during this time. When Peter joins the heroes and goes to face his father, we get a very similar altercation to the one the father and son have in Guardians 2. We hear Ego say, "That's the mortal in you."
That's the mortal in you, Peter.
That's the mortal in you, Peter. In time, though, you'll come to understand.
And Peter has a very similar reaction to the revelation that Ego killed his mother.
It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head. What?
You killed my mother?
After Ego is defeated, we see the team celebrating back at Hank's house, where Thor tries an earthly beer for the first time and exclaims,
"Another!"
just like in the first Thor movie when he tried coffee for the first time.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
God, I love that scene. And then we get a cameo from everyone's favorite Flurkin, Goose. And by the way, guys, we've got an awesome Goose-inspired shirt up on our merch store right now. Be sure to check that out. We've got Doug as Goose, we've got this Flurkin Hannibal Lecter shirt, and my personal favorite, this Higher, Further, Faster shirt that actually has the cats of the entire ScreenCrush team just kind of chilling out together. Anyways, in Captain Marvel, Goose originally belonged to Marvel, but she was then given to Carol Danvers. Well, now, in this universe, it's Peter and Hope that Goose is being pawned off on. Peter says,
But I'm more a dog guy.
a reference to his future canine companion, Cosmo the Space Dog.
You're a bad dog.
Take that back. Come on, that's not cool.
And the episode ends with the tease that perhaps this season's big bad will be Ego the Living Planet. Thor explains that the Celestial isn't truly dead until his planet is destroyed. And that is when we get that iconic Avengers theme as our heroes band together to go finish the job. Maybe we'll catch back up with them in a later episode, or perhaps we'll even see Ego the Living Planet become a real multiversal threat. Well, guys, that's all the Easter eggs we found. Big shout out to the writer of this video, Mr. Colton Ogburn. Colton's actually going to be hosting a lot of these What If videos over the next few days, but we're all going to be working on the behind the scenes as we try to get them out for you. I love this show so far. These 2 episodes have been fantastic. It has been well worth the wait. So guys, if there were any Easter eggs that we missed, let us know down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.